And this is a topic that we kind of stumbled over last night as it relates to the compensation that is devoted to quarterbacks, because there's been a trend in recent years where you see a great young quarterback and there's an urgency to put a team around him and spend money around him before you've got to pay him. And there's this presumption that once you get a quarterback that at least is, in the top half, you do everything you can to keep him. But I'm not so sure that some of these guys, Chris, that have gotten big contracts really should have gotten big contracts. So our challenge, whether we accept it or not, for this segment will be to identify which quarterbacks truly are the guys you've got to pay whatever it takes to keep, and which guys, conversely, maybe they shouldn't have been paid, and maybe there are guys out there that should not get that big money, and they should either not be re-signed or signed to a far lower amount than what they're looking for. So, with that said, I'm going to let you pick the first one, and I think we agree on the guy right now that needs to be paid whatever it takes to keep him around for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, is that who we're talking about right at the top of the list? Yes.
Your homie, my
homie, Patrick Mahomes. Yes, he is without question. I mean, I think, it's been 1 year, so, we might be, jumping the gun a little bit or whatever. And
We're not.
We're not. You're right, because we saw special things. We know he's a special talent. And, yes, he does classify under – I would pay anything to have that guy as the quarterback of my franchise for the future. He's that special of a player. This is Dan Marino, 1984. This is Elway. This is Aaron Rodgers. This is Brett Favre. This is a guy that can change the whole dynamic of your franchise for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, I know when there have been great players who have arrived on the scene in the past, the defenses that will be facing them the following year spend the full 7 months figuring out what they're going to do. And I know defenses are going to do that to Patrick Mahomes. They're going to study what the Patriots did. I think Tyreek Hill is going to see a lot of double coverage like he saw in the AFC Championship game. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to matter.
No.
Whatever your plan is, Patrick Mahomes is still going to make his plays, because when things start to break down and chaos ensues, that's when he rises above everyone. That's his best tool, right? You can try to out-scheme the other team, and sometimes that's going to work. When it doesn't work, that's when Mahomes dips into his bag of tricks, and he uses his athletic ability to run circles around everyone and eventually fire a missile to an open receiver.
You're exactly right. Like New England game, it's 30 seconds and they need a field goal to to tie the game and send it to overtime against New England. Nobody can do that. The perfect coverage, perfect defense. He escapes the pocket and throws a rifle down the sideline to the running back for a big gain, and all of a sudden you go, wow, they're going to get in field goal range here. That's what you're talking about. And that is what kind of special player he is.
And keep in mind what the rules currently are. It used to be that you could sign a draft pick to a new contract after 2 years in the NFL. The 2011 CBA requires teams to wait 3 years. Mahomes is entering his third season. But if you look at the language carefully, once the regular season ends, that's when the window opens for a long-term deal. And if I'm the Chiefs, I've got a package ready for Patrick Mahomes that I put in front of him the day after Week 17 of the 2019 season. At that moment, let's do this right now, because every day you wait after that, it's only going to get more expensive.
Yeah, you're right. And at the same time, if Patrick Mahomes does want to sign something like that, he's got to give himself some security that 3 to 4 years from now, when he's still the best quarterback in football, that he's not being jumped by no-name guys that we're going to make up or talk about right now who don't deserve to be in his stratosphere, right? Whether that's a Kirk Cousins or whoever it may be, they've got to have a provision like that, too, to help some of these guys out in these situations. But he's certainly that guy. I mean, do you want to go with Aaron Rodgers? We're putting in that class, right?
Let me address the point you just made.
Yeah.
Because Aaron Rodgers, when he was negotiating his most recent contract, and by the way, his last contract, he committed for like 6 years, which was a mistake.
Yep.
And he talked about creativity and different things they can do. At the end of the day, he just accepted what the Packers offered, a standard structure with no protection against getting leapfrogged, no provision that ties into a percentage of the salary cap, which is available, but no team will do it. Mahomes could be the guy to get it.
Yeah.
That could be the guy to change things. But the next guy on your list, as we are discussing, Aaron Rodgers, a guy that you should pay anything to.
Yes, without question. I mean, he's still in the prime of his career, maybe just on the start of the downhill side of that, slope. He's no longer peak performance Aaron Rodgers. We've seen injuries a little bit, creep into his career at this point. But at 34 years old, this day and age at the quarterback position, with lack of contact and lack of being able to hit the quarterback, the knowledge of players staying healthy for a long time and taking care of their body, the Tom Brady effect. Aaron Rodgers has got 4, 5, 6 years of really good football, I think, still ahead of him, because he's got a special arm. He's a special athlete. And hey, my thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. He's the greatest quarterback I have ever seen in my life. I don't care about rings and all of that. I'm talking about when it comes to the attributes he can bring to the football field, there is nobody that's been able to compare. Quick release, strong arm, quick feet in the pocket, a gunslinger that never throws interceptions, the greatest touchdown to interception ratio in the history of the sport. That's why he is, in this class that we're talking about.
We saw Peyton Manning. We saw Brett Favre. We saw Joe Montana. We saw John Unitas. We saw Joe Namath. We've seen plenty of great quarterbacks over the years finish their careers with other teams. Yeah. Do you think Rodgers is wire-to-wire a Green Bay Packer?
I do. I think he'll be wire-to-wire a Green Bay Packer. I do. I think he's the type of guy, when he doesn't feel like he's got it anymore or he can't just dominate, he'll just call it quits and say see ya and move on to the next phase of life.
When you say that he's starting down the back end of his prime,
right?
Do you think, if he hears that, do you think deep down he agrees, or do you think he puts you on the same list that I'm on?
Well, yeah, he probably puts me on the list, but I think he's a realistic enough guy and a smart enough guy to go, well, I get what he's saying. I am 34 years old and going to be 35 and all that. I hope he's smart enough. But this is what makes guys like Brady and Rodgers who they are. This unbelievable self-belief and, self-confidence and almost this narcissist type of way, and I mean that in a good way, that makes them be able to go out in front of 70,000 and say, screw you, we're down by 10, I'm going to bring us back. That's what makes them great, too. So you got to take a little bit of both there.
It's always important to have self-confidence in yourself.
Exactly.
Wouldn't you agree?
Right.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Well,
we got Mahomes.
Yep.
We got Rodgers. Who's the next quarterback out there that you pay whatever it takes to keep?
I only got 3 more guys on my list total just for me. I don't know, and you can push back, but Russell Wilson would be that guy, okay? Deshaun Watson would be that guy for me. Andrew Luck would be that guy right now. Everybody else, I don't think is that guy. And I know there might be some pushback or whatever, and I feel free to push back.
You're very concerned about the pushback.
No, I'm just saying.
I've already got you on the ropes, and I haven't even thrown a punch.
No, I'm just saying, guys like Matt Ryan, he's awesome, but I think he's the next tier down. I get that, okay? Cam Newton, I think he's that type of talent, but the part of his career and as banged up as he's been, I don't think he fits into that. Breeze and Brady, they're amazing still, don't get me wrong, but they're old, so I'm not paying anything for them at this point of their career. I guess that's how I kind of differentiate, some of those guys as being the next level down compared to the big 5, Mahomes, Rodgers, Watson, Wilson, and Luck.
What about Roethlisberger?
Yeah, Roethlisberger, I think, is the same thing. Like, still awesome and doing great things on the football field, but a little too old for me to say, oh, I'm going to give him Aaron Rodgers type money or, Russell Wilson when he's up here soon, that type of contract. I think he's that next phase down type of guy where, hey, I could sit here and go, yeah, he certainly deserves more than Derek Carr and deserves something in the Kirk Cousins type of range, but I don't think I could justify him being in the Aaron Rodgers or soon-to-be Mahomes Wilson range.
All right. There were 5 first-round quarterbacks last year. They've all worked out so far. The best of the bunch by far, in my estimation, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
is he on the list, or do you need another year from him?
No, I would like to see another year, but I did think about him like a little bit like we saw with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I almost saw enough to go, okay, he's the guy, he's the man. Let's let's do this going forward. I think he's very close to that category for everything that he brings to the table, not just his great physical talent, but the guy, the leader, the charisma he shows in the locker room. I think if I saw another good half of a year this year in the 2019 season, I would put him in that class of guys.
And, I've seen the stats, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, how all of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL didn't make it to the playoffs this year. And teams have to ask themselves, and it may just be that teams are paying the wrong guys, right?
Sure.
Because what's your alternative? You've got Derek Carr,
right,
and Derek Carr has been good enough, and now he's due for a contract. What do? They made him the highest paid player in the history of football. And then Matthew Stafford, he gets his contract. He's the highest paid player. And then Jimmy Garoppolo gets his, and Kirk Cousins gets his. And I guess these teams you're so desperate to have that guy who is going to transcend the franchise that you pay him,
I know.
and you hope it works out.
Yeah, I think there should be a little bit of a difference between, those top-tier guys and some of these middle-class quarterbacks. It's, again, where the quarterback in the last 10 to 15 years has become the most powerful person in organizations. He's one up the head coaches. It's really owner, and then right behind that is franchise quarterback. That's all we talk about. But I would like to remind people, hey, let's build a team, okay? Let's build a team. The Eagles built a team, and then when their star quarterback went down, Nick Foles won. The Peyton Manning Broncos that we discussed earlier, when he was the worst-rated quarterback in football, they had a team. They had a great defense. They had a pretty decent running game. They managed the game right. Hey, how about Russell Wilson in his first Super Bowl? Russell Wilson was nothing special at that point. He was really good, but they were about defense and running the ball and Percy Harvin returning kicks. How about Tom Brady early on in his career? I mean, he threw for 145 yards in his first Super Bowl that he won and got MVP. Why? Because the team around him was great. So sometimes the team helps the building of that franchise quarterback and starts that whole process, where I think too many times, especially in recent past, where teams just go, oh, this is the franchise quarterback, he's our guy, and he'll carry us through. No, you still have to take the approach of build the team, and the quarterback then might get to a point where he can carry you from that point on.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.